Welcome back to the Outlaw Ranch. As you can see, I have pulled that lower link bracket off of the cradle on the truck, and I've been trying to figure out ways to eliminate variables. And if you remember, I put a 3/4 inch bolt through here because the hole that I have through this square tubing is only 3/4 inch. The problem is the hole that goes through this bracket is 1 inch, which allows this tubing here to kind of move around up and down a little bit. So today I went to Texas Tool, bought a new 1 inch drill bit. These are the drill bits I've been buying lately. I think they're awesome. And this is the old CanCut drill bit. It turns out that maybe the CanCut drill bit isn't such junk like I thought. I don't know if you can see there through that plastic, but you can see right there around 3/4 of an inch how it's burned up. Well, it's probably burned up because of me. I was using some WD-40 as a cutting lubricant on my drill press over here, and it turns out that according to the guy at Texas Tool, WD-40 has a low smoke point. So that WD-40 wasn't doing a very good job as a cutting oil. So what I did was I went and bought this, and it is a metal cutting tool lubricant. So we're going to use this on the new drill bit. We'll get that hole punched out and eliminate some variables. Stand by. All right, so I got that hole finished punched out. You can see I got a bolt through it. There's another issue here, and it looks like I'm not going to be able to use this as a spacer like I thought. And the reason is, if you look real close, you look at the distance from the edge of this to that hole, and then from the edge of this to that hole, they're not the same. While this one does go exactly through the center, you can see that one doesn't. So using this as a spacer, or using these as spacers in here, isn't going to work anyways, because this block isn't the same from top to bottom. That was my mistake. So what I'm going to end up doing instead is coming over here, and I'm going to put a line right down this tube here, all the way down, and I will line that bracket up with that line. And then I will use my little digital level there, put it on the side of that thing to make sure that it's level this way, put a line on the inside of the tube, make sure it's on there as well, and go from there. Also, when I left off last, we were talking about how this tube looks like it was this way and that tube was in, so this thing's cocked a little bit that way. I think I understand why now, after I stewed on it. So when I was bending it, I put a level on that tube as it was coming out of this bender. So as it's coming out of this bender, this way, and it's bending, I put a level on it. That's great, unless this isn't perfectly level, up and down vertically here. So the floor in the shop isn't as flat as I'd like it to be. And when you're making those bends that large, with that much tubing, if it's off just a little bit, one way or the other, they're not going to be bent on the same plane. And I think that's what happened. Because when I'd set them on the ground, there was just a little bit of rock between them, and I thought that was because the shop floor wasn't level. Well, yeah, maybe. So I'll go ahead and get these brackets on here, and then I'll use some ratchet straps and start pulling things around and bracing them, and we'll get it straight. But that might be the reason why it was like that. Anyways, just kind of a heads up there, guys, FYI. We got some more work to do, so stand by. Okay, here's kind of the next little puzzling thing that I have going on here. I have this all bolted together. You can see the bolts there are nice and level. Everything looks good that way. But when I grab this, you hear it rocks. If I flip it all the way over here, nothing. It's solid. So I'm trying to figure out what would be the most important to have on the same plane here. If it's the tops, because that's where it would weld onto that cradle over there, or if it would be the bottom, because that's where I'm going to run this plate in here per my neighbor's suggestion. It was a great idea. So I think the top needs to be more in line with each other. That way it runs the same down the center of the tube on either side here, on the inside and the outside. And then the plate that's on the bottom there can be, manipulated a little bit. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll keep it like it is, nice and flush on the top. And I'll get it jacked into place and see how it looks. Stand by. Okay, you can see that I've come in here now with the grinder and we've cleaned up everything that we need to, all that little protective coating, and it's done on the far side. And I also got it here on the inside as well. So everything is prepped and ready to go. So now I'm gonna take that floor jack over here, see if I can't jack that into place. I'll double check here with a tape measure. It sure seems like when I was trying to force that in before that these bolts here seem to kind of squeeze this together a little bit. And you can see it might be right at 2 inches. So maybe what's happened is when I bent that tube, that it kind of sandwiched, the top and bottom, and it spread out there on the bend right here. So that might be why I was having such a hard time getting it up in there before. We'll take a look. If I have to, I'll loosen it up. It's not a big deal. And let's see what we can get to looking good here. Stand by. Okay, what I've done is I've come in here and checked where that tube was at, and it was at 0.5. Then I come over here to this, line it up, and you see it is also at 0.5. Looks like it's at 0.5 the other way, because it looks like I have the up arrow facing up there. And when I put it on this, you can see that arrow is facing down. So it looks like it still isn't quite level. I'll have to keep working on it. The other thing I was noticing too is that it looks like I start to miss the tube just a little bit right there, but I'm all the way on the tube here. So it looks like this piece here needs to shift to the rear ever so slightly to be centered in there. I don't know, a 1/4 inch or so. So we'll keep messing with this. Hopefully we can get it all dialed in, and I'll come back with you when I get it all figured out. All right, y'all. After some playing around with this, you see we're at 0.5, and you can see this, where it planes in here and where it planes in back here, looks the same to me. That says 0.5. If we grab this and we pull it down here, you see that we're 0.5 also. So this is now perfectly in alignment with that. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to go and I'm going to put a tack in here, and I'll put a tack in over here, and then we'll check what this angle is, left and right this way. And then we'll make this match so that at least they will be parallel with each other, I think is what I'm going to do. So stand by. Let's get some tacks in this and keep moving forward. Okay, folks, we got this set in here. You see we have 0.5. We knew that this was 0.5 here. So this piece and this piece are in exact alignment with each other. Now the next thing I need to do, I only tacked it here on these two corners here. And the reason for that is if I put this on here, you can see that we're at 89.7, so almost 90 degrees. We're 0.3 off. The important thing here is that we try to duplicate that here somehow. Let's see if I can get that to work. And that one says 89.1. So that would be our twist that is in this piece. I don't know if that's really enough to have to worry about, but we do want this to read the same. And you see we're at 88.4. So that tells me that this side here needs to come up just a little bit. So I'm going to work into that. I'll come back to y'all when I have that figured out and solved. So stand by. You got a little bit more tweaking to do and we'll get this figured out. All right, well, as you can see, that piece is off again. You can see where it was right here, a little bit right in here. And I've got it cleaned up again. What happened was after I got it welded on there or tacked on this outside edge, I couldn't get that bracket for whatever reason to line up with these tubes this way. It was kicked out this way somehow. So just using the jack and going straight up with it was not the answer. So I'm going to try and lift it up into position, somehow embrace it. I'm not real sure how I'm going to do that. And get it so that it is straight, this way. And of course, this way. So I'll have to keep working into this. Things are just not going well. Every time it's one step forward and two back, I swear. It's a wonder I get anything accomplished. The other thing that happened earlier today was this axle fell off. I was lucky. It only caught my foot with the tie rod here. So other than just a little bruise, everything's okay. Thank goodness I didn't catch, my foot underneath one of these hubs or that center section or something. So I got real lucky. So we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep plugging away at this. I'll see what I can figure out. I got to get that thing in there. If this axle was actually linked, that would prevent it from falling off anymore. So that's got to be a priority. I got to get that done just for safety reasons. So stand by, more work to come. Okay, folks, I think I have this now. It seems like every time I put this on here, it reads a little different. 0.5. 0.5. And if I go to the side, 90 degrees. That is straight up and down. I'm going to tack this thing. It looks like I have it the same fore and aft. I'm going to tack it real quick. Hopefully it stays. I should have thought of that before. I don't know why I didn't. Shame on me. Gosh, like I said, one step forward, two back. Stand by. I'm going to get this tacked in, and I'll show you the aftermath. All right, y'all. It did move 0.1 degrees there. We're at 89.9. This still says 0.5. That still, well, gosh, I could have swore it said, there it is, 0.5. So, that bracket is now exactly parallel with the cradle. It is also exactly straight up and down as far as this goes. Thank goodness. Lessons learned. Okay, so on the next side, I'll know to check all three measurements before I get too crazy about tacking anything. The other issue that I'm kind of seeing right now is I'm looking at this angle from that lower link to where that axle is. I'll see if I can't find a piece of tubing or something that's long enough. I don't know if I have anything around here. I have a level. and I'll check the degrees on that lower link. Typically, we don't want them much more than like 10-ish degrees. I'll double check it. I don't know what it's going to be at. It's always something. We do know that this rear axle is a little too low for ride height. This shock should have 8 inches of shaft exposed, and I'll double check it, but I think it's got more than that. So yeah, the axle's gonna have to come up a little bit, but I'll check that angle real quick and I'll get back with y'all. All right, y'all, just as kind of a quick little reference here, I thought I would try to set this level up along with my digital angle finder and see exactly what our angle might be here. And if I put this so that the top of it lines up with about the center of the axle, and I come over here and I try to line that up with the center of that, you can see our lower link angle is about 7.6, 7.5, something like that. So good news, it looks like I'm gonna get lucky. It really is pretty much all luck though. I was hoping that was the case, but you never really quite know until you start getting things figured out. We did discuss that rear axle probably needs to come up a little bit. The shaft that's exposed on that shock, we want about 8-ish inches, and I believe I am more than that. So if I come over, well, shoot, let's see here. If I pull this up, and we go to the bottom of the shock there, yeah, you can see we have about 11.25-ish inches. So that rear axle is definitely too low for ride height. So now some of that's going to change, because remember, we got to change these lower shocks. They're going to come up over this. So the bottom of the shock is going to come up a little bit, but I don't think it's enough. So we're still well below that 10 degrees, which is all great news. This one is tacked into place where it needs to go. That's great news. So now I guess I can really work on getting this rear axle exactly centered. I'll pull that shock back out, get that axle, exactly where it needs to go, and we'll start taking some measurements. Hopefully we can start cutting some links soon. Well, anyways, guys, I know this has been a long day. Believe me, after I dropped that axle, it got a lot longer. But I appreciate y'all sticking with me. I know we didn't get much done. I never do. This is a slow, drawn-out process. Again, I did get some new subscribers again. I think I was notified today. Thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate it. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you.